Which brings us to the next step in this learning process. We need to learn how to draw these compounds. Believe it or not, chemistry is a pretty visual field, and one of the big ways that we communicate is by drawing the structure of a molecule or ionic compound so that we can clearly see what it looks like when all the atoms are bonded together. We're going to start with just covalent compounds today, and next week we'll move into ionic. But for now, let's look at one of my favorite covalent compounds, and also, I'm sure, one of yours. We're going to learn how to draw delicious, life-saving water today. That's right, we're going to learn to draw a water molecule using Lewis dot diagrams. Oh god, we got to know about dot diagrams too? I already forgot this, Mr. Cruz. Well, random student, if you haven't caught on yet, physical science kind of builds on itself. If you don't learn one skill, it becomes harder to learn the next one. So if you're struggling in any particular topic, it might be helpful to just take a look back every now and again at what you did before and refresh your memory so that you can do well on this next unit. Let's draw a water molecule. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at this formula here to figure out how many actual atoms we need. This 2 right here means that there's 2 H's. And this O doesn't have anything, so there's just one of them. So I've got 1 O and 2 H's. And then what I'm going to do, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what the atom in the middle is going to be. And it's pretty easy to figure out. It's the one that you have the least amount of. So if I've got 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogens, oxygen's going in the middle. So now I'm just going to draw the dot diagram for oxygen. So let's see, oxygen has, let me count across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 valence electrons. Told you you'd need that skill. So let's go ahead and draw 6 valence electrons around oxygen. And remember, I go around once, and then I go around again for the next set of electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so not perfect, but serviceable. Now what I'm going to do is everywhere that I don't have a paired up set of electrons, I'm going to put another atom. So I've got these paired up and I've got these paired up, but this one's by itself on the bottom and this one's by itself on the side. So I'm going to take this hydrogen and put it right there. And I'm going to put this one and I'm going to put it right here. Okay, so now I'm just going to draw the dot diagram for hydrogen. So let's take a look at this. I know, because it's in group 1, that hydrogen just has 1. I'm going to put it right there next to that electron from oxygen, because they share that one. I'm going to put it right there. There we go. That is your Lewis dot diagram for water. Now, most people will then erase these electrons and draw a line instead to show that there is a bond. And it's understood that a covalent bond is 2 electrons being shared. So that line represents 2 electrons. Let's take a look at another example with some things that have a few more electrons. Okay, so this is called carbon tetrabromide. And it is a carbon and 4 bromine atoms. I know that there are 4 bromine atoms because it has this little tiny 4 at the right of it. So I know that I need 1 carbon and I need 4 bromines. 1, 2, go away. 3 and 4. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to take this carbon and I'm going to draw my Lewis dot structure around it, my dot diagram. How many valence electrons does carbon have? 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 of them, so I'll draw 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Okay, Now, just like before, I put my bromines around it. You might ask, how did I know that carbon was going to go in the middle? Well, it's because it's the one I've got the least amount of. Only got one of them. So I put it in the middle. Put that bromine there. Put that bromine there. Okay, so now I just need to draw the dot diagram for each of these around the carbon. So let's figure out how many valence electrons bromine has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bromine's right there in group 17. So let me draw, I'll start with the one in the bond. 1, and do the top one. 2, 3, 4. Oh, and I've already got 2 there, so I'll skip it and go 5, 6, 7. There we go. Okay, so now we have our Lewis diagram for bromine. Let's do the rest of these pretty quickly. So I went ahead and filled this in. This is the full carbon tetrabromide Lewis structure. And there's a few things that I want to note here. For instance, if I highlight these were the electrons that carbon shared. And these are the electrons that bromine shares. And you can see how every bond has 2 electrons inside of it. One on top, one on each side, and one on the bottom. Another thing that you'll notice is that because they shared them, everybody has 8 electrons around them. Bromine had 7, well, carbon shared one of his, and now bromine has 8. Each bromine has 8 around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Carbon had 4, but then 4 bromines gave an electron each. So now it has 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now let's clean this up. Alright, so this is what it looks like, all cleaned up. I erased the electrons that form the bond, and I drew a little line instead to show that that bond is there. This is the kind of work that I would expect you to turn in. You've got all your valence electrons, they're paired up like this, and then you have your lines to show the bonds. So now that you've seen me do some of this, go ahead and get some practice yourself by doing the activities in Google Classroom. Remember, if you're Learn From Home, you'll do 4 out of 5 activities, but if you're one of my AB kids in school, you'll do 3 out of 5 activities because we do some stuff in class. And remember to like and subscribe and click that bell, and check out today's sponsor, Marie Curie. Marie Curie was a Polish-French physicist known for her work in radioactivity. Notably, she discovered 2 elements, polonium and radium. She is the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person and only woman to win the Nobel Prize twice, and the only person to win the Nobel Prize in 2 scientific fields. Her lab notebooks are still radioactive today, and that is a fact. Thank you very much to Marie Curie for sponsoring this video. I will see you guys next week.